Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get cut. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry about starting late here. Yeah, I think what happened was I updated OBS over the weekend, and it must have changed my encoder settings or something, because it was trying to use a different NVIDIA encoder that did not work. So I even tried updating my video drivers. So you give me a second, because when that happened, that kind of like flipped everything around, right? Oh, this goes over here. You go right there. Yes, sir. Just take me a few quick moments to put all of the windows, because when the video driver updated, it forced all the windows over to one screen, you know? But that ain't no big deal. There. And you go over here. And then where is... There you are. The Japanese yen. Yes. What else do we got? There's another window over here that probably shouldn't be here. Yeah. Ninja script output, that, and that. Okay, we're good there. And this over here. And this. Oh dear, how does that? Oh. Those are fine. They just need to be pushed back over, that's all. There we go. All right. Now we can get into it. What's going to the moon? Well, so let's just talk about the weekend first. So the whole Russia thing ended up being a limited incursion, or rather a recognition of the parts of eastern Ukraine as independent republics. This has not led to outright conflict, but it is still a very tense situation. There is a kind of a sense, I think, that maybe this is as bad as it gets for now, but we should be a little bit careful about taking on too much risk just all at once, because the sanctions are going to come, and I'm sure that the markets are going to react to the sanctions, right? So when we come over here, the S&P 500 has really taken it on the nose, and we're going to have to come out here to like daily levels to see that we're kind of towards the lower end of, you know, where the January route was. And the chartists are going to point out this head and shoulders pattern that we've got. I'm not going to say that it means anything, but 4,200 appears to be kind of like the significant support level where like the gamma and delta hedging options all kind of care about. And I would just point out that 20% pullback at 38.50 or so would be some key points. All right. Here in the treasuries, you can see they moved higher initially, but they are coming back, and they are coming back very, very quickly. That's a pretty big down move. I don't know if they have much more in them today or not, so that's kind of interesting. Oil, on the other hand, which apparently we need to roll over. Let's do that really quick. Oil has been just took off, and they're pushing like close to $100 a barrel now at some points. Okay. Well, here they must be talking about Brent. CL still actually kind of coming back to 92, which isn't too bad. Just remember though that it was only a few weeks ago we were at 85, so pretty big move there. Natural gas kind of chilling out to some extent. Gold and silver remain elevated. Kappa going sideways. And then the one that I think is probably the most significant is Bitcoin. Bitcoin giving up all of the gains created by the beginning of the month bull run, really coming back. So this concerns me a little bit because a lot of people bought in through this. They are losing all of their money. I'm seeing a lot of analysts predicting 30K. If they were to breach 30K, I think that things could get ugly in Bitcoin. We'll see. It might be like last time, some of the spots where they kind of fell through and then they kind of chilled out. Like it was just they were just testing it and pushing through, and I wasn't seeing like the stops, that sort of a thing. But that's what I'm concerned about, because there is a point here. There is a point here where certain big guys are losing so much money that they're going to have to puke positions. And if we start seeing puking in Bitcoin, it'll be pretty spectacular. So we should keep an eye on that. Well, I'm not able to get my my windows over here like perfectly aligned. I'm so anal about that. All right. Anthony loves the Bitcoin crashing. I don't know about a huge pump coming soon. Like, man, given the circumstances, if we had another really big pump, it would really start to become obvious to almost everybody how much Tether is manipulating the market. For them, it probably makes more sense to kind of just chill out and let the winter happen again. I'm not interested in any tokens. So something that we should do though, you know what? There's another streaming website, and they wouldn't leave me alone. So that's probably the wrong way to say it, but they kept sending me emails, so I finally agreed to meet with them, and they're like, "Yeah, try it out." So let's try it out, huh? So the website is called Share Vision. Oh, I thought I had a stream. Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't matter. I just not interested. Not interested in picking up any cryptocurrencies. I didn't need the thumbnail. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Use this live thumbnail. Great screen. Okay. Live studio. And let's see if it will allow multi-streaming here. Public. Is it working? Is it working? Start streaming? Maybe. So as for me today, we could start dabbling in it, but given the degree of the move that we've had here in the treasuries, I'm a little bit weary about trying to take on risk. Anything below 2% I'm interested in, but I'm just not sure that the timing right now is right, especially since I'm sanctions are still coming, right? So the thing with Bitcoin, one of the things that I'm really cautious about with it is that there's a lot of attention hurting, right? Essentially, I think that a lot of the major players there, at least, realize that a lot of the activity there is really driven by people coming in and, you know, advertising whatever, and so the Bitcoin people are really pushing hard. You know what I mean? Like they're really advertising a lot. And anytime that they're doing their advertising blitz. So like for instance here, new tokens every hour, right? What is that designed to do? That's advertising designed to get people interested in the coin and stay interested in it. And like the thing is, first of all, I have a really short attention span. And if they're doing the marketing push, that's like almost always the worst time to get in, because like you're getting in at like the peak of the volume coming in, and then after that it's going to die down. And so if they all bought into it, then after that, you know, it's going to come back. And I have to have some reason to think that it's going to happen beyond the advertising. Now, if I know the advertising is coming, so which sometimes happens, and I can get in before that, that's always great, right? But so with cryptocurrencies, I really avoid, you know, like this whole thing of like looking for new coins and trying to get into the new. Nah, nope. I completely avoid it. When we get to the point, if Bitcoin is oversold, which I don't know if we'll ever get there, but if we ever get there, then I know what I'm going to get into. It'll be probably some of the bigger coins, right? We're probably a balanced portfolio with Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, probably XRP is probably in there. But I don't know. We'll see where we're at. I'm kind of like really. I'm still a little bitter and unhappy about how the whole blockchain split thing went. There's this person was posting on TikTok the other day, and I did a response video to it. They were like, "Well, the Bitcoin is the perfect thing for if the government is trying to censor you." And I'm like, "Yeah, so for that, nobody accepts Bitcoin to do direct transactions, so it's too expensive. So you're gonna have to trade it for dollars at the exchange, and then exchange it back to your bank account. You're like right back at the beginning, right?" So I'm a little mad about that. Like I really identify with this thing that Charlie Munger said the other day, which is like that there's a lot of selfish people that don't care whether what they're doing or not benefits society. And I agree with that. Like I think that there is a place where cryptocurrencies could be useful, but what happened was the greed got the best of them and ruined the opportunity. If you can't use it as cash, then like what's the effing point? And probably what's going to happen is central bank digital currencies are going to come in and take over. Now, I got to tell you, it's kind of funny to see the right wingers. They get so upset about a central bank digital currency, because I am super interested in the central bank digital currency. But it really comes down to what Congress decides. Like if Congress comes in and they say, well, people should be able to remain anonymous. The government shouldn't be able to just confiscate your coins whenever they want. You know, I would like it to be like, if you have access to the wallet, then maybe there's some forensic stuff that they can do. But until they get a court order, they shouldn't be able to take control of your money. And that should be built into the protocol, that there's no physical way for them to get into it, right? If it meets some of those qualifications, and I have high hopes that it will, because I just don't see how a currency, a central bank digital currency, is really very useful without some of those things. But if they do all of those things, then I really will, like, what's the point of Bitcoin then at that point? Store of value still, but is it really a very good store of value? During this whole Ukraine crisis, I don't know. Every time that there's a real risk off event, right, you can see Bitcoin is not a safe haven of any sorts, right? It's a risk on move. It's like a deflationary hedge. Like when they're pumping money into the markets and inflation is not a concern, what about monitoring every single one of your transactions? Well, but that's what I meant by anonymous. Is like, I would like to be able to, like, if I create a wallet, and it should be like, I think that it should be a lot like Monero, which is that they can't see who the wallet is in the transaction. If you have the wallet, then you would have the key, and you would be able to look at all of the transactions that you made and who you made them with. But without that asymmetric key, you shouldn't be able to do anything, right? But because I would really like, really like to be able to do economic analysis, like be able to classify every wallet out there as to what kind of a business it is or something like that, and then see where the money is going to and from. And like, think about the crazy kind of economic data science we can do with that sort of power. But it comes up against that transactions need to be anonymous. Nobody's going to use US central bank digital currency if the transactions aren't anonymous, right? But you should still be able to get like some sort of general sense of what the money and the economy is doing or something. Maybe you add a flag so that you can like classify what your wallet is if it was for a small business or a person or whatever the deal is. Well, I don't know what I got to do here with the share vision to make this work. It doesn't look like it's doing anything. I see, no, it doesn't look connected. Dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. I can click start streaming, nothing happens. It says public, I can click go live, that just opens up another one. Bitcoin would function just like our normal currency, except for the fact that it would hold a greater value. No, well, I didn't even think that they would do that. I think that they would make it like 1 for 1 or something. Well, I don't know, because you don't want to make too many blocks. You can't make a let's say $1 will not be equal to 1 block. Yeah, that's probably true. But I think for the purposes of how it gets used, you'll still just be transacting in dollars, right? There won't be any difference between the value of the central bank digital currency and the value of the actual dollar. It says your hardware doesn't support web stream, is what it's telling me. Oh, by the way, how is the quality of the stream that we got over here? Looks like it's okay. So I need to come in here. So where I was having a problem was when I go to output. Oh, I have the psycho turning it on. Maybe I shouldn't have that on. Well, see, it had the other NVENC, not the new one. It was using the old one, and that one didn't work for some reason. Nah, I didn't do a BIOS update. So I did 2 things. There are 2 things that I did. One was I added a plugin that allows me to multi-stream, and 2 was I updated OBS. And then when I go into the settings, well, I can't really show you now, but here in this, under this encoder option, it was on the other NVENC encoder, not this one. And when I switched it to this one, then OBS started working. And I don't know what I had it as before, if I was using the other one on purpose or what, but so that's why I think that it probably was the update, right? Probably was the OBS update. So then I come back to, okay, so I'm using the NVIDIA to do the broadcast. For a long time I used the CPU encoder, but I need a new video card is really what I need. I need to get a 3060 or something. Put that on the list. I'm hoping to build a new machine here soon though. Like I think that's what I'm gonna do with the work uh bonus. It kind of depends also on where the taxes are, because we are having a baby this year. We're gonna have to be able to pay the hospital bill for that. So I'm gonna have to be able to put like $3,000 aside to pay for the hospital bills, right? But I think one of the kids, would like another computer. So I'm thinking about building a new computer, taking the chalkboard down, and putting the machine back up there, right? And so I would build a new machine. I would take all of the guts out of this machine and put in new components, and then give her the old stuff, because this stuff works just fine, especially for the kinds of games that they play. And then maybe get a video card, right? No, I didn't change anything in the NVIDIA Experience Control Center. Although, what part of the reason why it took so long to get started this morning was that I tried updating the drivers. So, anyways, but the thing that so here's the share vision. So if I come to share vision, it's not saying that I'm connected or anything like that. It's not saying that I'm connected or anything like that. And I don't know. Now on here, it's not going to show me there. Where do you go for my stuff? Channels, on air videos, go live. No. Now I'm looking for, where are the stream settings? Now that's interesting. If I come over here to streams, oh, and that must be like past streams or something like that. Video, my channel, no, dashboard, channel settings. No. No. And it's interesting that now, like, the go live button is available again. It's definitely, I think, still in beta. Well, let's try this again. Maybe it's that I need to, okay, so where's my thumbnail? I have to pick the thumbnail, which is kind of dumb. Public stream, create stream. Ah, okay. So let's see here. If I stop this, did it change? Ah, it does. I think every time that you try to stream, it changes the key, which kind of sucks. So now I click Live Studio, I think, and start. Ah, there we go. Now you can see me. Now you can see me. Wait, is this how you link it? Please, let's see here. Yes, it is. Cool. Well, I will close that, move this down. Covering up Discord for today. Oh wait, did it not actually? It's there. Oh, now there's 6 people watching, but it says please start your stream to enable live chat. How is that the case? Ah, there we go. Now it's going. Now it's going. So wait, is this the correct link for you? I'll give you guys a link. You can try out the share vision and tell me if like it's faster or not. That would be what the first thing that I think would be interesting to us, right? Yes. Okay, so why do I have my YouTube so big? Okay. Okay, there's the share vision. So we'll try it. When they first emailed me, I'm like, I'm not interested in multi-streaming again. I don't know if we get many viewers on it. Apparently, if you get 30 viewers, if you have 30 viewers for more than like 30 minutes or something like that, then they pay you for the stream. But if that doesn't happen, I'm not particularly. I don't care all that much. But I'll give you guys a link there. You can try it out, or like open it in both, or whatever it is that you want to do. Now the other thing is with the multi-streaming. Ooh, does it affect the connection? How are you guys doing here on the YouTube? Are we having problems? Does the bitrate seem okay here on YouTube so far? Well, when I look at it, I'm getting a little bit of buffering, but Bez asks, is depth of market only useful for scalp trading? Can you use it as a swing trader? I'm a newbie. Yeah, no, I think that it can be useful for all kinds of trading. So I think that when we talk about DOM trading, this was intended as like, I want to do market making, and I want to take one tick out of the market here or something like that. Like that was like the original, the people that made money doing this in the 2000s. That's kind of why they were using the DOM to some extent, was because they were doing market making and putting orders at like every level and stuff like that, right? It can still be really useful if you're swing trading. Now, if you're swing trading, you're still going to be looking at the same thing, right? You're watching the orders as they come through on the DOM, because that's really where it's useful. Is it's the best, most comprehensive and accurate way of looking at the orders, right? Of course, you can see them in charts. You can see things in footprint charts, and you can have level 2 indicators on your things and stuff. But really, I don't think that anything quite duplicates just sitting and watching the DOM as it happens, right? So, what I would look at it as watching the short time frame to try and enhance your swing trading, right? And so that's essentially what I'm doing here with this one in the 10-year, right? This is like my Seth's CTA strategy sim account. This is a sim account right now. I'm doing 3 contracts right now, right? But I'm watching the play-by-play, and then, but longer term, I'm trying to swing a long-term position, right? So that's the first thing, is like, seeing what's going on in the shorter time frame can really help you understand what's going on the longer time frame for your swing, right? Because the what you're trying to do is the same in either situation. You're trying to predict future orders. It's just that with a swing trade, you're trying to predict them over a longer time frame, which may actually, from what I've seen, may actually be more accurate. It might be more accurate over a longer time frame, right? The second place where it can help you is that you can take multiple contracts and try to take advantage of some short-term things that are going on in here and build up a little bit of a buffer, right? So that you can have, like, I'm going to swing it short, but I'm going to take it with 3 contracts and take profits with the first 2 contracts, or whatever the deal is, right? And then when you take those 2 off, you can like do it over and over and over again and build up a bit of, that's what I've done here. Is I think I originally took this short somewhere way back here, and at 2%. And because I keep scalping the range here, I've been able to move my average position up, right? So yeah, I think it's useful. The other thing is I don't get how people execute this whole thing here, where like in Ninja Trader, for instance, um, what is it? The order ticket, for instance, like this thing. Ew. No, 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 thank you, no, thank you. I would never execute on anything other than the DOM. So there you go. Wondering, does it tell me how many people are watching? Oh, it does right there at the top. It says 2. There we go. So we'll see how many we can get. And so far, it sounds like the streaming, I'm not getting those kind of warnings anymore. So it looks like we're doing okay. That the connection is handling sending it out. Maybe I need to go and change my internet and get the higher upload speed. Let's just see how it goes. Let's just see how it goes. Well, I must say, since we've started, the market hasn't been too terribly active. There is a decent amount of level 2 activity and ticking around. It's not moving very far. I'm really curious to see how that will change when the S&P 500 opens. So we got about 25 minutes to the open of the S&P 500. Did a couple of you leave YouTube and go to ShareVision to try it that way? Oh, no, we're fine. What are the numbers? The numbers are the same. Because the thing is, I don't know. They're telling me if there's 30 viewers, I'm telling you this for like to be open, because I don't want to like really like, how do I say this? Hey, if you get 30 viewers, then they pay you. It's like $50 a stream on ShareVision, right? I don't particularly care about that. I'm not going to tell everybody, go over to ShareVision so that we can get 30 people. I want to see how many people just come to ShareVision organically, because if it helps grow the stream and grow the community, then I'm interested, right? Then I'm interested. I don't like, how do you do this? So one thing that I don't like is in their player, I can't like stop their player. That makes sense. They've got a player over here and it shows me what's going on, right? But I can't, all I can do is mute it. I can't like stop it so that that's not like using up bandwidth. I don't know if it really matters, but now it's telling me there's the bitrate problem again. Well, we could lower the bitrate. So that's one thing. I don't think I can do it. Oh, actually, I can do it over here. Like if I just change it to 2500. Okay, let's try that. Hopefully that doesn't, well, let's go see. Let's see if I bring this over here and I go make it full screen, play. I do, all I'm gonna have to do, oh, okay. What, I can only do 360? That's not right. You guys usually watch it in better detail than that, right? I'm positive that the after the fact that is better, but oh, Here it is. Here I am right here. If I go through YouTube, do I get have to mute that? Oh yeah, now I can do full quality. And it still looks just fine. You can still read the numbers at least. There is quite a bit of, yeah. It's a little bit of artifacting, but no, 2500 is just fine. So we'll leave it there and see how that goes. Cool. I can pin messages to the top of chat. But just let me know how it's going. Yeah. If you're having trouble, like the stream is buffering for you or anything like that. And yeah, we'll just see. So while I'm thinking about it, something that's really interesting to me about the market action that we've had as of late is that the dollar did not really move that much. Do you find that interesting? That the dollar didn't really still only 96. I guess, is that significant of a move for the dollar though? There are connection problems all over the world. Well, no, I was NASDAQ killer. What happened? Here, I'll give you you can see the link. You probably can see the link. So they convinced me to try a new streaming service that is specifically geared towards market commentary. So I'm multi-streaming to both platforms at the moment, which means I'm sending twice as much data out, right? So I'm worried that could affect the quality of, both live streams. They could be both bad, essentially. So that's kind of what we're testing right now. So if you're getting buffering here on YouTube, let me know. All right, because that means the connection can't handle it. Right now, YouTube is telling me that the bit rate is not as good as it should be. So we'll see. And it looks like a couple of you guys did come over to Share Vision to try it out, but then closed the window, which is fine. It's perfect. Oh, it's just, it's something that we're going to have to monitor through the whole stream, right? Whenever I watch people on YouTube, the stream is constantly buffering and restarting and stuff. I hate it. Or not on Twitch. There's the one streamer when I watch on Twitch, it seems like I always get like the little hitches. I never get that when I'm watching people on YouTube, Do retail traders have a disadvantage sculpting against that? Oh, well, 100%. So, the way that traders, okay, let me back up. Back in the 2000s, okay, there was a real revolution in trading, and there was, electronic trading came to the vogue, and there was some people that made a lot of money through the electronic trading. And so when we hear all the stories about you can become a day trader and this is how you make money and scalping and all this sort of stuff, we're getting those stories from that time period, right? Well, starting around 2006 and really solidifying around 2009, we shifted towards algorithms really taking over the market. And so since then, the opportunities for retail traders to market make has been significantly reduced, right? So if we, for example, look here in the 10-year treasury, you're not going to get a good spot in line. The best that you're going to get in line is like 500, where if you get filled, maybe you don't want to be filled, right? So that spot in the queue, that's a pretty big disadvantage, and you're not going to be able to get a spot in the line ahead of them unless you're like co-located or something like that, right? So trying to do a market making strategy On the 10-year treasury, I think you can do it if but I don't know if it's really very worthwhile for you. Like the amount of money that you're going to make is going to be tiny because there's just not much edge to be had there, right? So market making is probably not for us, right? We have to move more towards what are some things that humans can do well. And so the whole framework that I put forth, and I have a video coming out that goes into this in well, it's kind of another piece of the puzzle, but basically we're trying to predict future orders. I don't use anything about past price or anything like that. It's all nonsense. We're trying to predict future orders, and we want to use the information that we have out there about, you know, if future orders are coming in or not. The video that I'm putting out today is going to go into what sort of information can you use to predict future orders based off of new research. Okay. Really important video today. This is like my magnum opus. Like this is the video. If you watch any video, is this next video. And I don't know if I'll ever make a video bigger than that. But it's a really good video. And now we humans, we are a little bit better than the robots at kind of sorting out what are all of the different factors in here and like what's the news that's going on and things like that. So there's still a place for retail traders to make money, but the place is probably going to be more on the informed trading side than it is on the market making side, right? And that's kind of the way that I approach it. So, do retail traders have a disadvantage scalping against algos? Yes, they do. And I gotta warn you, Bez, like 95% of people that try to do this fail at doing it. I have periods where I do really well and have periods where I do terrible. I actually did make money last year. The year before that, I didn't. Right? So, I think a lot of people come into this like, hey, let's, I'm gonna quit my day job and just do day trading. Might work for some periods. There's probably a lot of people that were able to do it successfully in 2020 and 2021, right? But it's going to get a lot harder from here, right? And the ones that were doing that probably were more on the stock side. Yep, the video is going to come out when this stream ends. So if you stick here and watch this stream, actually, I don't think I set that up. Let me make sure I got that set up. It will redirect you to the premiere. There we go. So if you're watching on YouTube, when the stream ends at 11 o'clock Eastern time, it will forward you to the video. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not going to say that it was like my best presentation or anything, but I worked really hard on the script. I think it's the most useful, like literally the most useful pieces of information that a retail trader can possibly watch, read, whatever. And I'm really trying to do something here. Like normally the take is, especially if we find a technical aberration in the markets, right? Keep it to ourselves because we don't want competition, right? But what we're talking about here is something that kind of applies to everyone and it even affects like society level decisions about how markets, what moves markets. A lot of people think that markets are informationally efficient. They say that current price contains all available information, that people trading bake all of the information that's available into the price. And what this research shows is that that's not the case. That's not the case. Markets are very informationally efficient because orders have such a strong impact on price. Markets are very inelastic, in other words. We'll get into it. I'll explain why that is in the video and what the research shows. But because of that, you can't assume that the current price reflects all available market information. It most certainly doesn't. And you as a human can kind of look in there and say, okay, well, here's a piece of news, or here's something that we know that the market's not accurately reflecting, right? For instance, we did that in treasuries. We've known since August that the Federal Reserve was probably going to start was going to start tapering in October and probably start raising rates in March, right? And everybody just kind of ignored it, and everybody was saying, well, look, the bond prices aren't moving. That must mean that they don't think that the Federal Reserve is going to do it. Well, that was just because the orders weren't coming yet. And then at the beginning of the year, when a lot of people make moves in the bonds and there's a lot more order flow coming through the bond market at the beginning of the year, then all of the selling came and the rates rose and the whole market kind of flipped out, right? Here, us on this channel, because we were informed, we knew that that was coming. I wasn't able to take advantage of it as much as I wanted to, just because I was kind of risk off during a lot of it, but we did make some money from it, right? Because we were informed. So that's why I'm so excited about this video. I want everybody to watch it. I want you to share it with your friends, because this is the way that this explains all of the conundrums. Like, X thing happens and the market does this. Why is this? It doesn't make any sense. Now we can explain those things with this framework. Did retail use to market make? Yeah, they did. They're used to, I mean, market making involves taking on risk, and it's a form of trading, right? And the thing is that if you're a retail market maker, you can choose which side of the market you want to market make. So you can still make these decisions about what direction it's going to go and stuff, right? You have to excuse me. My stomach is kind of acting up today a little bit. I don't know why. Something about what I ate last night. Got the stomach acids a little bit high this morning. It was when I was eating, it was, kind of hurt going down, even if it was just slightly warm. I think because my esophagus was maybe a little bit sensitive from the acids coming up or something. I don't know. It was kind of weird. So I might be like pausing and like burping or stuff like that. Anyways, why do you say that market making doesn't sound like trading? That's kind of a weird thing to say. Hey, hold on a second. I'm going to close this window. I say that trading is making some sort of decision about what a security is worth now compared to what it will be worth in the future. That's trading. So as a market maker, the decision that you're making is you're saying these are the prices that are acceptable right now. And over the long run, the people hitting into me, they're not getting as good of a price as I am from, knowing what the price should be. And that's how I make money, right? Why would you trade both sides? Because this is the correct price, this is too high, this is too low. Right? Well, the treasuries are kind of threatening the high end of this. Is that a new, I guess that 370 that just traded into 19.5 was a new high. Question though is, will they recover higher? I guess, yeah, S&P 500 hasn't started yet, right? And S&P 500 is doing kind of some interesting patterns. So we might get all sorts of fun things happen when the S&P 500 opens up. You mean mean reversion strategies? Yeah, to some extent it's a mean reversion strategy. I don't know if I would put market making necessarily in the It's kind of a little bit more complicated than that. In order for you as a market maker to make money, you have to get filled on the limit on both sides. Generally speaking, that's market maker like that is only going to use limit orders. So you do need some degree of mean reversion for you to make money, right? But the way that these algorithms do market making, they're able to take on a lot of risk, right? And so they can have a really big trend move against them. They pull their orders when they think that there's probability of informed trading is too high. And then, they take more orders here. So you could have a strong trend against them and they're still making money. But that's just because they only need it to mean revert by like a tick. You get what I mean? So I don't know if it's quite the same thing as a mean reversion. When I think mean reversion, I think more like, a lot of CTA, commodity trading advisor strategies, are kind of momentum strategies. But a lot of strategies now, for instance, our friends over at Capital Fund Management, CFM, in Paris, and they have some of the best CTA strategies in the world, that they're some of the best performers. Their top performer, the Discus Fund, has actually a more mean reversion in it than it does trend, is my understanding. And that's kind of what I think of when I think mean reversion. But I would say the edge in the market making strategy is the math of, if there's a move against you, how do you make money from that? So there's some math behind that, and then there is the edge that you're using to select the correct price, which usually involves looking at a correlated asset and maybe looking at what like fundamental value should be and kind of making some decisions related to that, right? I would rather have my stop as a tick and my target as 1,000 ticks. Well, if you're okay with like a 1% win rate. I don't know if you ever get a winner at like that. Well, you'd really have to have something that really was moving, huh? To never get a tick against you. Well, no, I mean, one tick, you could do it if there was momentum in your favor, yeah. Your win rate's not going to be very high doing that. That's for sure. I definitely get a lot of trades here in the treasuries, though, that it never ticks against me. That's the optimal situation, in my opinion. Man, my stomach today, not feeling good. Okay. Oh, they changed the tweet. They changed tweet deck. Blah, blah, blah. Tweet deck. Want to try out the new tweet deck? The new tweet deck is coming soon, and you have been selected to preview it. You can always go back to the current version without losing your setup. Try it now. Are you guys excited? We're gonna try. Yes, first. Want to import your existing columns? Yes, I would. I would. Success. Your columns have been updated. Here, I'll show it to you guys. Okay. Take the TweetDeck tour. Okay, I'm taking the door. Make a column. Okay. Stay organized with desks. For a cleaner, more focused experience, organize your workspace by grouping your columns into multiple decks. Oh, cool. So I can like switch deck and just all of my columns change all at once? Is that what that means? Use these dots to move a column. You can customize them just like it was in TweetDeck before. Keyboard shortcuts, etc. Okay, cool. So far, what I see is that it is exactly the same as TweetDeck before, except for that it's white. Ooh, and that shows me messages down here. That's kind of cool, I guess. That's kind of, oh, I got a message request. Here it is. I don't know, maybe they don't want me to see that I got a message request, so we should. Oh, that was somebody a long time ago. Why? Yeah, sorry. Sorry, brah. Didn't see your message. Okay, but how do I... Well, to be honest with you, so far, I'm not really feeling the new tweet deck. To be honest with you, Twitter. But here there's more settings. Wait, display. Default column width narrow, yes. Default media review small. Background lights out. Aha! There we go, yes. Yes. Okay. And now... Okay. Okay. The heck? Okay, so it shows me this bit at the top here. I don't like that. Just take the opposite position as soon as my order gets filled and you'll never... There you go. It is a thin book, you're right. I mean, they're only putting up 2Ks here. Well, here comes the S&P 500 going this morning. You know, I didn't even look at what we've got on the docket coming up this week. We had so much, you know, all over this stuff kind of happening because we had trouble starting the stream this morning. Okay, so we got core PCE, that's important, Friday. Some speakers on Thursday. Nothing tomorrow. We got flash manufacturing PMI and services PMI, and then consumer confidence at 8. Okay, so we do have some significant pieces of news coming up here this morning. We're getting some spreading coming in here. 5-year coming back hard. What's with this? Hold up. Oh, I see what's happening. I'm gonna restart NinjaTrader here because I'm having a little data problem. You know, it's kind of interesting when you think about market making in the context of this inelastic market hypothesis thing. It's really the exact same thing. You're saying this is what it should be worth, but you have to account for an order flow going against it anyways, because orders move price. You can't predict all flows, and you might have a good reason to be in a position, and the flows just aren't with you at that time, and you got to get out. Or, you know, pull your orders because maybe they know something you don't know, or who knows what's causing it. Okay, that's a little bit better. My chart wasn't showing this more recent swing back the other way here. And the S&P 500 is not looking so hot right now, though, is it? Probably need to give it a second here. These all seem fine. How about I just try and reload this one? MES 0322. Yada, 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 yada. So many platform issues for me today. Good grief. I'm assuming that's a NinjaTrader thing because, you know, we reloaded NinjaTrader and it's not. What if we change it from like, so what if I change it to, what do we got here? Oil. Load up oil. Maybe it's that. No. Let's load up one that we already have working. Yes. Okay, so if I load up yes, it's fine. What if I load up MES? Maybe, am I getting any messages on here? No? Nope. Interesting. What if I load up a chart for it? Okay, well, that loads up just fine. That loads up just fine too. So why? Why is that DOM not loading it? What if I come here and I just open up a new DOM? Same problem. For some reason, my column here in the market analyzer. What? Well, we can try closing Jigsaw and opening it back up and seeing if that changes it. Every week I keep lowering my target to get out of crypto. Now I'm hoping for a 20% bounce. From here I will close with 50% loss from, wow, geez, wow. I don't know what to tell you, man. Of course, I don't know what's going to happen in Bitcoin for sure, but I was very much back in December like I don't want to be in this market, you know? I want to gloat. I want to get on TikTok and be like, "Oh, look, guys, I was totally right and all of you crypto retards were wrong." Less taxes if you hold for 2 years. I don't think that it. Dude, does Bitcoin, they count your gains as long-term capital gains? Yeah, we get some news coming up in about 7 minutes. $7. And now it picks it up correctly. Just something about shutting down NinjaTrader and restarting it, and not restarting Jigsaw at the same time. Caught it disjointed, but now we got it going. Okay, so that said, we did have a pretty good bear move, about 20 handles or so down, but not terrible. Kind of rotating around here. We'll see if they go for another leg down or not. I'd rather put my money in value stocks. Well, why not just buy the index funds, right? Okay, so here on TweetDeck, when I have a list, how do I get rid of the little thing that says it's a list? Column content, maybe. Oh, show or hide info about this column. There we go. There we go. Show or hide info about this column. Hide. Yes. Yes. Get rid of that column there. So, in all honesty, I don't really get the new TweetDeck. I don't get it. I don't want this explore column. Notifications should go over here. Must have just been like an overhaul to make it more efficient or something like that. Delete the home column, and then can I get my trades to be all the way over here? Yes, there we go. So for Y, that's weird. Get rid of that thing. Okay. It did not add all of my columns. It did not add of all of my columns. Market not working for you? Well, it just skyrocketed back there, the ES, didn't it? That one maybe would have been worth a trade, but And how do I get add column? My home timeline. There we go. Wait, how do you column options? Width medium. There we go. There we go. Okay, now I am finding this theme a little bit too much. Let's change that. Let's do dim. Now it looks mostly like the old TweetDeck. I think I had it like this though. And that one like that, and then ZBZN notifications all the way over here. Yeah. Yeah. Now, how do I get rid of this thing right here? I don't want that there. That's kind of annoying. Messages settings, maybe? Got it. No. Maybe display. Manage decks. Oh. And this is just taking me to my Twitter settings, huh? I don't know. I'm still kind of like, I don't know if this TweetDeck, this new TweetDeck is any better. Well, it's definitely not any better. It's just different. Let's see here. What's Gary Norden saying? Choose your narrative. Fund managers are not long puts as a hedge for portfolios, so downside moves will be exacerbated. That's certainly not true. Fund managers bought lots of puts. They're hedged, but this means option market makers are short downside gamma and their rehedging will increase downside moves. Yes, to some extent, but to some extent because they are long puts and they have the downside protection, it also kind of limits how far they can go, right? Both of the above can be true at different times. There is reflexivity in different groups' interactions. Downside moves in equities can be large and volatile in part because of the vast majority of investors are only ever long. Personally, I'd be more concerned about one than two. Being that fund managers are not long puts as a hedge for portfolios, so downside moves will be exacerbated. Yeah. But at the current time, I don't think that that's the case. Is S&P 500 going to recover further? There's a bunch of little lines up there on my chart at 4340. Might be interesting they get above those. Treasuries do seem to be making a little bit more of an aggressive push here. I totally missed the PMIs. 57.5 versus an estimated 56. And the services 53.0 versus previous 51. And a composite of 56. So those numbers all look good. Now remember, we've got consumer confidence at the top of the hour, and that's going to be pretty important. Anyways, let's see if there's anything else from the traders that we might. Russia doesn't want to invade Ukraine. We are very close to peaks. Negative sentiment for markets. Pre-market yen stable and gold battered too close above 1900. These two are. I'm not sure I believe that or not. I don't really know. Is that that as far as they're going to go is just recognizing those two republics? Where did I get the PMI number? Well, I subscribe to Financial Juice. So if you go into the video description, I have an affiliate link down in there for Financial Juice at $70 a month, or you can pay $1,000 one time for a lifetime subscription, which is what I have. Or you can get on TweetDeck and watch it on TweetDeck. Okay, so now that I've like changed my TweetDeck theme, the sidebars that it gives me are like grayish, and I don't like it. Okay, so their Live Squawk's take on the numbers that we just saw are U.S. economy rebounds from Omicron wave, but output prices rise at survey record pace. So it is not very favorable report for the inflation problem, it appears. Well, there's definitely some convexivity going on here in the treasuries, isn't there? Like they all kind of moved down. The spread didn't change too much, but it does seem like that the 5-year went down more than the 10. I'll recenter them. Freedom Convoy organizer Tamara Lich denied bail. What? For real? Wait, I thought that there was like they didn't even have any real charges against her. Lich was denied jail in part because the judge believed that there was a risk that she would continue criminal actions. Oh man. Oh man. Hey guys, remember when we were having riots here in the United States and all of the protesters were just turned back out into the public and then continued, like burning buildings and so forth? If only the judges had thought, you know what, but you might continue your criminal actions, so we're going to deny you bail. That's, Don't want to go too political into this, but it sure seems to me that they treat you differently depending on which party you are from when you protest. There's a step in the profiles. Yeah. Well, I think that that's mostly just from this. Well, of course, it's from this range that we've been trading since the regular trading session, right? So far in the treasuries, I haven't seen some sort of like really strong, determined order flow that's going to move it in a certain direction. If we get it, I think that it's probably going to be to the downside. We'll see. The S&P 500 seems to be going pretty good here right now, right? But that's all I read that as. We've got, a little bit of a vortex here around 15, half 16. Why is the S&P 500 buying right now? Well, we never know for sure, of course, but I think that the best theory for what flows are driving the S&P 500 up right now is that traders believe that the worst of the Ukraine crisis is behind us. I'm definitely seeing people say that. Is oil getting hammered? Oil's actually doing some interesting stuff. So oil had quite a bit of buying delta, but they're like towards the lows right now. So it seems like people still want to buy oil, but the market makers are pricing it lower. The S&P 500 going for the key levels, going for the highs. Yep. Okay. So that is a bust of the overnight highs. Now, remember, we got some consumer sentiment numbers and inflation expectations coming here at the top of the hour. Or do we get, oh, I guess we don't get that. CB consumer confidence just has CB consumer. Richmond Manufacturing Index as well, though. Given that the PMIs kind of showed inflation, we're going to want to watch that Richmond Manufacturing Index number as well. You saw the buy on the book. It looks like a pretty good move. You know, like right here, we could probably justify some right here. But I will give myself a little bit of room. So if we're gonna do max 5 contracts, you know, let's let it come back a little bit just in case. There could be some at this 45 area. Yeah. There we go. But there is a possibility that the S&P 500 jumps up even further from here. Perhaps to like the 43.65 area. Your guy at the CME thinks it's short covering. Well, yeah, but why would you cover shorts, right? Because you think that the worst of the Ukraine crisis is over, right? The piece of information that, so like a short covering would be new orders, and the new orders are closing of positions, right? But the piece of information that I think is the impetus, the driver for these new orders, is that traders believe the worst of the Ukraine crisis is behind us. I'm still a little bit risk adverse here with my micros because, one, the treasury's still not really moving, and two, because there are still going to be sanctions, and I don't want to get caught in any kind of little temper tantrum off of sanctions. He thinks it's more of an opportunity to sell higher. Is this CME? Is this the CME guy? Is that? You think it's an opportunity to sell higher? Well, let's do a poll here. Is the worst of the Ukraine crisis over? Ask your community. When are the sanctions announced? I don't know. They don't, there's not a time for that, but probably today. Probably today. Putin is going to annex. I don't know. So I think what they're saying right now, YouTube Finance, he kind of did like a somewhat limited action, right? So remember the poll on Friday? We said, are they going to do nothing, or is there going to be like a limited incursion into disputed areas, or are they going to like attack Kiev, right? And so far, it's just been a limited incursion into disputed areas that were kind of largely pro-Russian anyways, okay? It would be like a really big reach to take over Kiev, right? Like, I'm not saying that it's beyond them and they're not going to do it, but the difference between what they've done and attacking Kiev is like, you know, is capitalist. No, so what I did was I went and I unlisted the old videos because I didn't want it screwing up the video feed. But if you're subscribed to the channel and you go and watch YouTube Shorts, you should still see them. But I'm kind of experimenting with it. I'm still been uploading them to both. I don't know. The thing is I don't know if the YouTube Shorts has really been pulling many more people to the channel, and it kind of feels like noise to me. And like it inserts a lot of noise into my analytics because it doesn't differentiate between regular video views and shorts. some guys, including my guy, that Russia recognized the independence of these separatists in order to justify Russia to enter those zones in military. Well, of course. Of course. Well, of course, in fact, well, like, here's the thing, though, Lucas, is that, like, the Russian military is already there. Don't, like, seriously. The people that have been, like, fighting there, like, the separatists, they're Russians. They're Russian militia groups that are backed by the Russian military. In other words, Russia has been in Ukraine for a long time. Okay. So what we had was, it wasn't nothing, but it was a limited incursion. Now the question is, does it get worse? Does their back and forth with Ukraine, and then Russia uses that to justify taking over all of Ukraine? And that's what I think people have kind of been worried about. What I see going on here very much feels like the Hitler strategy. It's like, well, we only took over these areas because they had ethnic Russians, and, you know, they wanted to be here anyways. And that's all we're going to do. And then what's going to happen? They're going to take over all of the areas that are kind of like seemingly Russian. And then they'll be like, okay, time to take over Poland, right? And that's where shit always hits the fan, is when they touch Poland, right? That's, I think, the worry. That's the worry. But right now, I think that the market is taking a calculated risk, saying that, okay, they took over, they recognize those areas. We don't think that there's going to be a full-on war with Ukraine. We think that that's the worst. That's what they're saying right now. Yeah. Hitler started taking over with regions for ethnic Germans. That's exactly what it was. It was like, first they united all of the Germans, and then they said, oh, but we need more room to live. And so then he started taking over other areas. Limit order entries are a more satisfying type of entry. Well, listen, if you catch a limit order and it never ticks through you, those are beautiful. Really hard to catch those, though. Papa Smurf is from Poland. Hey, thank you for saying hi. I appreciate it. I hope that Russia doesn't come in and start doing that sort of a thing. With I wouldn't put it past Putin, right? Like, he does seem ideologically motivated, but it also seems like he's the kind of person that's like, well, if I can take over the world, then I'll do it. I'll take over the world. Like, that's, you know? As much as I know the cons of Hypothetical, I enter on Hypothetical as a candlestick confirmation I can't deal with. Well, okay, so first of all, I wouldn't. I'd be very, very wary about Hypothetical as an entry. I mean, no. Listen, let me put it this way. I have a video coming out in an hour. So if you stay here on this stream, then it will automatically forward you to the new video about the inelastic theory of markets. This is the best research-backed information description of why markets behave the way that they do. And the way that markets behave, the reason that markets behave the way that they do suggests that any kind of analysis that is based purely on a single price time series, and Hypothetical would fit into that category, is unlikely to work or unlikely to yield you very much. Oh, is Poland a NATO country? Oh, there you go. Hypothetical was made by people who do not trade. Is that the case? I don't know where it came from. All I know is that you can really, really trick the Ninja Trader backtester if you use Hypothetical bars. Because you could come in and you can tell, okay, I'm using Hypothetical and I will take the closing price. And then, you know, but Hypothetical bars, what it shows as the close was not actually the close, right? Hypothetical changes it. But the Ninja Trader backtester doesn't know that. And so it lets you take prices that you wouldn't have actually gotten. No, that is not true. That is not true at all, Lucas. So go and look these people up. Holy crap, dude. Okay, so for instance, the guy that wrote the book Trades, Quotes, and Prices, Markets Under the Microscope, and he also wrote a supplement to the Inelastic Markets Hypothesis paper, Jean-Philippe Bouchot. I'm saying it wrong. Anyways, he was co-founder of Capital Fund Management, which is one of, if not the best, quantitative trading firms in the world, particularly when it comes to like CTA strategies. So when you look at who is being the most successful at what we're doing, not market making, but like just trading futures, it's these guys. And he co-founded that organization, Capital Fund Management in Paris. So yeah, they trade. He's like that. This is where it's like, if anybody is qualified to talk about this stuff, it's him. And the other two guys, Gabiax and Quagen, who wrote the original inelastic markets hypothesis. So Xavier Gabiax is a professor at Harvard, and Quagen is a professor at Chicago. But like they're not just professors. Like once you get to that level, you're always working for a firm of some sort. So these aren't just like I totally get like the thinking that these are just brainiacs that nobody's actually using their strategies and it's not actually useful. And no, what happens is you put out a really big research paper like that. The guys at the big firms, they all read it and they hire you. So these guys absolutely are trading it to some extent. Well, I mean, they're not like retail traders, right? But they're assisting large funds or banks in utilizing their quantitative research to enhance their profits. That's the crazy thing about it, though, to what Lucas was saying, is like, have you ever heard anybody else talk about these guys? Have you ever, before this stream, had you ever heard of Capital Fund Management? Probably not, because they're French, right? Probably not, because they're French. But they have some of that. Their Discus Fund is the best performing CTA strategy over 5 years. So it's like the best in our space. You never hear anybody, retail traders, talk about this. You never hear any retail traders talk about this research at all. So it's really kind of perplexing, right? Yeah, you never heard of Jean-Philippe. It's really kind of perplexing, but it's also kind of a really good opportunity, right? It means that we understand some things that the vast majority of retail traders don't know. And as I am starting to understand, we understand something that a large number of asset managers don't understand too. What was the return on their fund? I have to go back and find it. Let's see here. Let me pull you the article that I got that information from. It was right here. It was on thehedgefundjournal.com. Oh, here we go. Oh, it doesn't tell you what it was. They won the Hedge Fund Journal CTA Performance Award for best risk-adjusted returns over 5 years, ending in December 2020 in the systematic short-term trader category. The awards were powered by data provided by Preqin. So I don't know what the exact return was. I think it might say somewhere in here. Or because I seem to recall it being somewhere around close to what the S&P 500 does. And the volatility of the discus program should be more stable than the mix of models. Over 30 years, it has ranged between 5% and 25%. They try to keep volatility below 20%. I can give you just give you this link. How about that? Just give you this link. You can read about it. But they won an award for best 5-year risk-adjusted performance in the CTA category, basically. Systematic short-term trader. I've been yapping too much, guys. I haven't been very focused today. I'm sorry. That fund is the guy that wrote Trades, Quotes, and Prices. Wouldn't necessarily call him an order book guy, but I would call him one of the leading, if he's not the leading, he's certainly the most accessible guy in quantitative research. You can go and follow him on LinkedIn is what I've been doing. Oh, so let's come back to the poll. So lots of votes here today, but the majority of you say that it's not the worst of it. I don't know what you mean by the limit order, dude. The person we were talking about is Jean-Philippe Bouchot. We mention him in the video that's coming out in 45 minutes, so. Said there will be no winners. Well, I think that what's going on here is let's end this poll, by the way. I need to make a new poll here. We got to talk about something else after this. I think that there's like this line, right? There's this line, and this the other side of this line here. Actually, let's do it this way. This side of this line, okay, this is where we're at, and this side of this line over here is like nuclear apocalypse, right? And the West is all saying, Russia, don't you do nothing because it will be a war and a nuclear apocalypse and everything. And I think that what's happening is Russia is saying, no. The line is all the way over here. We're over here, which is these separatist republics where there's already a lot of violence and stuff anyways. We're just going to come in and do a peacekeeping mission and take over those areas, right? But you're not going to stop us. You're not going to stop. Nobody's going to do anything. When we go in, Ukraine is going to be like, oh, no, don't you do it. When you're going to do economic sanctions, but you're not going to do anything. And in fact, I think that Putin is even kind of the calculation that he must be making is that even though there will be economic sanctions, that the economic sanctions won't be that harsh. Like that they won't get cut off from SWIFT, for instance. Right? He's encroaching and breaking small rules. Exactly. It's just teeny tiny little bits. Papa Smurf, what about James Simmons and Renaissance? I would love to know more about what they're doing in Renaissance, but those guys are so tight-lipped. So go work for Renaissance. You won't be able to tell us anything about how it works, but maybe you can at least say, nope, you're wrong on this, Seth. You're wrong on this, Seth. Well, how do I know? Because I work for Renaissance. And then I'd be like, prove that you worked at Renaissance. And then you won't prove it. That's probably how that'll go. If that ever happens, I don't think that will ever happen. But if that ever happened, I'll get a full name and I'll go and do the employment check. We'll go and check it. We're scared off of nuclear apocalypse, no fear of the actual war, the West wins. Well, I don't know if I would say that the West wins, though. Like, here's the thing. I think a lot of people seem to have this idea that Putin is just some power-hungry monster that wants to take over as much as he can, and if he could take over all of Europe, he would do it. And so but he can't, so he's just doing things a little bit incrementally until they're strong enough that they can, like, you know, take over all of the Eastern Soviet bloc countries, right? And although I do think that he would do that if he could, I really think at the end of the day that Putin is being ideologically driven here. And I think that he is willing to be a pariah of somewhat if he is doing what he thinks is right for all Russians peoples, regardless of whether or not they're in Russia, right? So I think that he expects that the West will do some sanctions. And I don't. So the biggest thing on the table right now is Nord Stream 2, right? So does Nord Stream 2 never get certified because of the incursion into Ukraine? That may be the case. And it is a bad thing economically for Europe. It is. It really is, because they need energy right now, man. They really need energy right now. Did Putin think that they would cut off Nord Stream 2? I'm not sure. But it's going to happen, and I would guess that if you were to speak to him, he would be like, that's an acceptable punishment, because I did what I thought was right for Russians. So I don't know. The whole thing, the whole way that they go through it is super shady and everything. But yep, Russia wants its former glory, but the problem is the Eastern Bloc isn't really trying to. Yeah, it really isn't. Well, I think that those areas in Ukraine, though, do seem to be like, I don't know enough about this, actually. There are certainly people there in those Eastern blocks that did want to become like Russia has been giving them Russian citizenship. So like all these people have Russian citizenship and stuff. But the political situation there is really complicated. People that are in Ukraine could probably tell you all about like the people that are involved and all the stupid stuff that's going on there. But I don't know it in that much detail. But yeah. But so that's why I think I kind of come on the side of I think that there will be sanctions and that the market will react to some sanctions. It might not be new lows. So, you know, here is probably a perfectly fine place to take on some risk. Perfectly fine place to take on some risk. Oh, by the way, we didn't really pay attention here. Our fills in the ES. I would like 2 off there. Okay. Anyways, so of course, it's interesting to game out, and I'm not providing financial advice or anything. I'm just trying to speculate based on my own knowledge, which I know in this case is very incomplete, but it seems to me that there's a very good chance that this is the furthest that Russia goes, that there's not going to be an all-out conflict in Ukraine, and that the market will eventually stabilize. Now, one of the problems is that I'm sure that Ukraine was probably hiding some other anxieties, right? Like anxieties behind things not being priced very well and yada, yada, yada. So I would be really cautious about coming in here and taking on risk with the idea that like we'll be right back up at all-time highs by the end of the month, because I'm not so sure that that's going to be the case. Do you need level 2 for swing trades? Probably not. I think that it helps, but it's not necessary. I think that seeing things as they happen, that there's really great value in that you can't replace anyway and in any other way. But with your swing trading, the greatest source of your profits is going to be being informed, knowing what's going on, knowing what the news is, etc., etc. knowing what things should be worth and trading on that information. And you don't have to have the level 2 in order to do that. It's just the level 2 really helps. Especially it helps you learn because now you can sit there with the news squawk and you can hear the headline come out and you can see what the order flow does. What points to it escalating exactly? You just need a Bloomberg terminal. There you go. Well, I would recommend going to Zero Hedge every once in a while, once a day, and trying to find all of the stories that are talking about Wall Street analysis, and specifically look for articles that kind of talk about flow. So they say we expect this much money to come into this market and this much money to come into this market. Look for those and why, and that's the kind of information that we want to use. But we'll get a little bit more detailed in the video that I'm going to release at the top of the hour, where we talk about, determinants of flows, essentially. That's a good point, David Alphaeus, that it seems that really since the 60s or 70s, that the large nations of the world discovered that war through spying and so forth was more effective than outright troops on the ground. That nobody was really interested anymore in like conquering territory. They were only interested in like kind of like the economic and diplomatic war sort of thing. It's very rare that it comes down to territory, and as soon as you start talking about territory, that's when everybody's like, don't do it or we'll nuke you, right? The nature of wars have changed for sure, and it really does make me wonder if a full out conflict on the scale of World War II will ever happen again. It's possible. Of course, we should knock on wood, never say never, right? But it's possible that's the largest that outright warfare ever gets. At least until at least until Xenon revolts and we have the 1 year war. That of course will be brutal. Asteroids being thrown to the earth and that sort of, but until that point, I'm not so sure that like outright open armed conflict really makes much sense in the modern world. It is very much an information war. We should really understand that, because that really affects what's going on here in the markets. And this market has been extremely difficult to trade because of the information war. Russia says one thing, the US says one thing, and the US is just saying, like Biden has been saying, the way that Biden administration's been talking, we should be like having a nuclear war already, right? But how do you navigate that? And my strategy, or the way that I've been dealing with it, has just been saying, okay, I'm just going to sit here and watch and let you guys sort it out until I have a really clear idea of what's going on and where we're going to go, just stay out of the headline risk. Maybe one way to play it would be to, sell options here at this point, but. But I didn't really hear another response from Lucas, which was like everything points to escalating conflicts. I don't see that. I don't see why. I don't think that Ukraine should really have any interest in doing anything in those breakaway areas. Of course, they'll have people on the border and everything, but I don't think that Ukraine would really be interested in any kind of incursion there right now. Anybody that doesn't want to be a part of Russia is going to leave that area, and or probably has left that area. I I'm not sure I see where the next shoe drops that leads to an all-out invasion of Kiev. I mean, if you don't think this means escalating problems, I'm not sure how to point things out. Okay, that doesn't. We're looking for a piece of information that indicates that there will be an invasion of Kiev, right? That's what we would need. How are things not getting worse? Well, yeah, but well, that's the same fallacy. That's the trend fallacy, right? Current trends do not necessarily represent future trends. So just because the trend so far has been that things are escalating in Ukraine doesn't mean that it's not going to reach a peak and get less worse in the future, right? So this is where I say, what is the thing that indicates to us that they're going to escalate to invading Kiev? It doesn't seem to me, at least, that they're really interested in doing that. Seems to me that this is like the most dramatic that it gets, and that if there is anything with Ukraine, it's going to be like months and months and months from now when everybody's forgotten about this. Just like it was with the other areas of Ukraine that Russia took over. YouTube finances, exactly. Later down the line. Yeah. And the problem on that one is that I don't know enough about the geography and the culture of those different areas to know where would be the next spot that Russia would try and take over, and how would Russia be able to, because there's a certain point at which Russia can no longer play this game that it's like, well, they're all Russian citizens anyways, you know what I mean? I think he probably does, for strategic reasons, he probably wants the whole country, but how does he get to that point? There's a certain point at which he can no longer say, well, we're just protecting Russian citizens, right? COVID is out now, it's Ukraine. It sure does seem like that, Magic. I think one still has to wonder, was the Biden administration making the Ukraine crisis to be a bigger threat to the West than it really actually was? Both one, to try and deter Russia, but then two, because they thought that it would help them politically. I think you could probably still make the argument. Of course, we don't have any piece of evidence that would confirm that that's what's going on, but I think you could still make the case that that's possible, right? Let's say Russia declares Alaska independent of the U.S. Would you wait for an invasion of Washington? That's a little bit of a different situation, right? Okay, if Mexico came in and declared Arizona independent of the United States because there's so many Mexican citizens there, then that would be probably a more realistic comparison, right? So if Mexico invaded and took over Arizona and declared it an independent area and then put troops there, right? And the majority of the people in New Mexico, I know that this isn't the case right now, but let's just say it's like 30 years from in the future, okay? Majority of the people there are already Mexican citizens. Are you going to do anything? Probably not. And at that point, are you fearful of an invasion of Utah if Utah isn't mostly Mexicans? Probably not, right? Like, even though you might think that Mexico wants to retake over all of the areas at which they at one point owned and that are now part of the United States, and maybe that's what this particular dictator that's come to power in this theoretical Mexico wants to do. How is he going to do that? Right? Because he can't just invade Utah and say, oh, well, we're just protecting Mexicans anymore, right? At that point, it's like, it's the same thing with Hitler in Poland. It was at the point that they invaded Poland, it was like there was no longer any excuse. You're just attacking people to attack people for greed. And it has nothing to do with ethnic Germans or any of that nonsense. You know what I mean? And so it just seems to me, both based on historical precedent and the way that the international community is behaving right now, that a limited incursion into these two Eastern Bloc areas that Russia has declared as independent republics is not like, of course they'll do sanctions and everything, but they're not willing to stick their necks out and do something big because of it, right? They're not willing to stick their necks out and do something big because of it. And it's not until they're like the people in Kiev, the people on the western side of Ukraine, they don't want to be a part of Russia. For sure, they definitely do not, right? And they're trending more and more towards the west every day. And what's going on right now is probably pushing them more towards the west. So I can see Ukraine being partitioned, but Kiev being invaded at this point, I don't think it's going to happen. Or at least I think that I'm going to say 60% chance that they don't invade Kiev is, I think, the speculation that I'm going to make. 65% chance, 60% chance that they do not invade Ukraine. That they do not invade Kiev, rather. Now, that probability would change very significantly if there are clashes between Ukrainians and Russians along the border. There has been some limited incursions and stuff, but I don't know. I think that Russia wants to calm things down now. What do you mean? Why did the bulk of the move occur pre-news? Which news are you talking about? We'll see, but I think that we'll probably have a really good idea by the end of tomorrow as to whether or not this Ukraine thing continues to escalate or if that was the worst of it. Most of you guys seem to think no, though. So I'm on the other side of this. Oh, the PMI? Well, I don't think that the market is really that focused on the PMI right now. I think the Ukraine situation is a much bigger factor behind the market moves in the ES right now, and the S&P 500 I think seems to be making the call that's as bad as it gets. Now, if another shoe drops, and that other shoe wouldn't have to be Kiev being invaded, but if another shoe dropped, I think you should see that risk premium come back, and you would see the S&P 500 drop and the treasuries come back up. Right? Escalation doesn't have to mean I think it kind of does. Like, it's an invasion of Kiev is the thing that everybody's worried about, right? I'm not sure when we come to escalation. There's probably a lot of things that could qualify under escalation that the market wouldn't particularly care about, right? Somebody squawk. Well, I mean, they did. I don't have I forgot to start the squawk. That's what my problem is. Means a worsening. Well, no, but I mean, it really has to be way more specific than that for it to be helpful for us in trading, though, right? Right, because in my mind, an escalation of things means that the market becomes more concerned about Ukraine and the market continues to move down, right? But there's a lot of things that could happen over there that might be escalation, but the market would just ignore, because it's like a ground war invasion of Kiev is the scenario that I think scares the market, right? And I think that with the way that this played out over the weekend, I think that the probability of an invasion of Kiev has decreased, is what I would say. So from that context, let's just what would be the best way to judge this. If the S&P 500 is above or below 4350 a week from now, let's say where the S&P 500 is at next Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. Maybe even give them a little bit of buffer for the overnight action. Let's say 4,300. Where will we be above or below 4,300 by next week? And I'm saying that I think we'll be above it. That I don't think that there's going to be something else that happens in Ukraine that really, I think that sanctions will hurt the market. But then after sanctions, probably we start recovering and we start moving past the Ukraine narrative, right? I was seeing something here, but where did it go? Well, so now there's another thing that we got to talk about until the top of the hour, and then I gotta go, and you guys can watch the new video that, again, we have a video coming out on YouTube at the top of the hour. If you're watching on the YouTube live stream, it should just forward you to it, on the inelastic theory of markets that I'm super excited for, and this is probably the biggest video I'll ever make, like in terms of how useful it will be to you. I don't think that there's anything more significant that I could possibly share with you. So, Tactical Mobile, I want to learn NinjaScript. Do you recommend learning C# first? Not really. If you've never programmed before, going through a basic beginner's tutorial about how to program will be really useful. But I think that what you will find with NinjaScript is that most of the things that people want to do, they can do just by taking an existing indicator and modifying it a little bit. Just finding the part of the script that has the math formula, and you'll see it there in text, and you'll be like, you might not understand everything about it, but you'll understand enough to be like, well, I need to change this number, and this should be a times instead of a divide and whatnot, right? So you don't have to be an expert at programming to be able to do stuff in NinjaScript, especially the things that most retail traders want to do. But knowing C# is always going to be useful. The way that I would approach it is decide what it is that you want to do. Pick something that's fairly simple, that is like just a modification of an existing indicator out there, right? Get in, start doing it. And then if you get stuck, then you go and you try and research the thing that is relevant, right? Like if there's a symbol there in the script, you don't know what that symbol does, then you go and you look that up, and you learn that way. That's probably faster for you. Unless you want to become like a full-on quant, and then maybe learn C# or Python. Python's another good place to start. Will sanctions actually work with this new relationship of Russia and China? I think that the sanctions that they're talking about doing are going to be pretty economically damaging for Russia. I don't know if they're going to be enough to prevent Russia from continuing to do this kinds of nonsense, but I think that's some like the doomsday scenario as they cut Russia off from SWIFT, right? Not to that point yet. Anyways, where was it going? Oh yeah, so we need to do one more poll, and that is we need to figure out what to name the dog, because we're going to be getting the dog on Saturday. I'm so excited. I've obviously touched puppies before, but I've never had my puppy. It's going to be my dog that I'm going to teach to do all of the things that I want, and encourage and discourage the behaviors that I do and don't want. And I'm excited. So we had a couple of names that we didn't put on there last time that we want to pull. So I've got Oreo. I guess we'll put Nostradamus on there too. There was a couple that I did like, but took them off. I like this one, the one of my daughter. I like Cash. I'm like, let's name the dog Cash. They're like, absolutely not. I don't want it to be named Cash. And I'm like, well, maybe. What do you want it to be named? Not Cash. And I'm like, okay, we'll name it Not Cash.
Head of Russia's upper house of parliament says that Putin asked for permission to use troops abroad.
Ty was on the list because, Treasury 10-year Ty. Or we could call him TY.
From head of Russia's upper house of parliament who says...
So I'll put those up and then you guys can recommend new additions to the list too. Okay, wait. What was that? I was just hearing something over the news squawk. Head of Russia's upper house of parliament says Putin asked for permission to use troops abroad. That is the headline. The S&P 500 is acting negatively to it, but it is limited.
The Russian Senate is to vote on sending troops outside of Russia.
I guess the Russian Senate is voting to use troops outside of Russia. I assume that means within those two republics that they've claimed are independent now, right? Wow. So I'll put that in there. Let me know what you guys think. Or if you have a better one. Oh, you know what I took off? Oh, no, wait. Oh, gosh. I should have put Gizmo on there. I'm only allowed to have 4. We'll do another poll. Okay. I meant to have Gizmo on there. I'm gonna teach the dog. I want to teach the dog to, like, we'll put 2 cups down with a treat underneath of both of them,
Eastern time,
and he'll pick which one. Or like 4 cups to be like, what do you think that the federal funds rate will be at the end of the year? I want to do that. I keep telling my wife, I don't think that she cares. But I'm like, I got this nice camera and everything, and the dog is going to be cute. We should take videos and post them on the internet. So, like, I'm going through this, and she's like, okay, we should call the dog. Oh, what was it? Started with a P, I think. Percy. She's like, call him Percy. Well, the top Papillon on YouTube is named Percy. So we can't. If I'm going to post him on social, if he's going to be a dog fluencer, can't that name's already taken, right? Can't use that name. And then the other one was Bean and Bandit. That's what it was, Bandit. So I took Bandit off of the list, even though it was a nice name. I took Bandit off the list because the top TikTok dog fluencer is named Bandit. Man, that treasury, they came right back up there to the top of the range. But, well, let's see. I wouldn't mind adding. I'll add 1 here at 30. We'll have this one run until, I'll give you guys 2 more minutes. I'll give you 2 more minutes to vote on this one, and then we'll switch it up. Nostradamus is ahead at the moment, which is not, there was more people voting for other ones in the past. Nobody likes ties so far. We'll take like the top 2 or something like that, and then we'll add in Gizmo. Call him Big Doggy. At this pace, he's just going to be called Pork Chop. Oh, what's this? Somebody mentioned my name over here on Jigsaw? Oh. It was an at everyone. I hate it when people come into Discords and use at everyone.
Finance Minister Lemire saying that
And
the Russia sanctions
Peter should
can
disable
include the
that.
financial sector, certain political actors, and bank asset freezes.
Pork chop, even better, right? I'm afraid to put pork chop on the list because I think he'll win. I think he'll win. You got 10 seconds. Vote now. Vote now. Okay, so we got Nostradamus and Cash. Is there one that we want to add besides? Okay, here. Seems like Oreo is losing out. Nobody liked my tie idea. Okay. Oops.
The Russian Deputy Foreign Minister asks the upper house of Parliament to approve the deployment of Russian troops in Donbass. A Russian Deputy Defense Minister says we need to take these people under our protection.
Gizmo. We'll add a French name in there. How about Jacques? Am I spelling that correctly? What's the difference between a 13F filing and the DOM? Well, a 13F filing is a filing that any fund that has over a certain amount of assets, I forget how much it is. I think it's something like 2 million. They have over 2 million under management, then they have to report their holdings to the SEC, and then those filings all become public. So when we're looking at 13F filings, we're looking at like who, what do big funds own? Okay. The DOM is something completely different. The DOM is a depth of market and is showing us the limit order book, and it is essentially the most thorough display of all orders that are placed on the exchange that you can get. You could place a stop order. We can't see those. Is that true for unregistered funds / CTA? I think that it has to do with how much they have under management. So there are some smaller funds that they don't have to register, but they're not really small enough to matter. So it's interesting to look through the 13F filings to see who the biggest players, what the kind of moves they're making. And sometimes we get an idea of like we saw a move in the market in a certain asset and we're like, what's going on there? And then you find out, oh, it's because these guys bought that.
In Moscow. And we have just posted.
Is it 100
feed for that if you'd like
under management? I don't know the exact number. Let's look it up. 13F filing requirements. Frequently asked questions. Who must file? in the course of their business and that exercise investment discretion of over 100 million or more must file Form 13F. Okay, yes, it's 100 million. I said 2 million, so a much higher bar than what I thought, huh? So 13F can help with swings in long-term trading? It could potentially. I think that you should read the 13F filings. The 13F filings could give you ideas, right? I'd be really careful about like an overly simplistic approach to that. The overly simplistic approach to that would be look at the 13F filing, whatever is the most held position or whatever, go long or short that. That's not the way that I would approach it. But what you can do is you can use the 13F to for like ideas, right? Name it Rex. I'll put Rex on the list here. I'll put so here, this should be like the rejected list. I don't know, but Ty there and Bandit and Percy. We'll put Cash on this list of ones that we're actively asking about. I like dog names with R letters. R.
So Paknov in Russia says that Russia will protect the territorial integrity.
Well, we got about 5 minutes, 10 minutes
counter aggressions
before I'll have to head out. So far, it looks like
breakaway republic
pretty even, but there's only 5 votes, so we'll let that keep going.
Pankov says that Russia will protect territorial integrity of the 2 breakaway Ukrainian regions and counter aggression. And Putin also signs the ratification of treaties with Ukrainian breakaway republics, according to TASS.
Rooney? What? My wife was saying we could call him Reacher, but she's like, no, I wanted to name the baby Reacher. And I'm like, okay. Your child isn't going to be this huge monster like Jack Reacher is, though, because we're average-sized people. So we are having some risk-off sentiment coming through the markets here because of headlines out of Russia. What we're seeing right now is not anything too terribly like surprising. So I would call this mostly just like robots overreacting. Where is it you hear Russia good news that went up fast right before? There was no news. There was no such piece of news. There was no such there was no breaking news. There was no breaking news. I think that some of the upside action was traders was the big bad thing happened, right? What is it? Buy the rumors, sell the news, right? So the big bad thing that we had been worried about had happened, and I think that that's why we started to see some buying in the S&P 500 this morning. Then some headlines came up and kind of hurt us, but it wouldn't surprise me unless we get something that I think is more fundamental. Okay. I just realized that selling does have an impact, but I think that there's probably still a lot of money that wants to be put to work. So unless I get some terrible headline, I think that we could continue to see the S&P 500 move up later in the day. Well, we'll see. I'm not going to be around to see it. I'm just trying to try and give you an idea of, how do you approach determining order flows, right? Well, the Ukraine trade, if we can call it a trade, Ukraine news is one of the dominant drivers of order flow in this market right now. So, hence the moves that we've seen, right?
So Putin is to set the size and timing of Russian troop deployment in Donbass.
So like this whole thing, that the headline is basically that Russian parliament is voting on putting troops in Donbass, and my counter here is there technically already are Russian troops in Donbass. Doesn't really change anything. How about quoting tools in NinjaTrader like a timer or a position tool like in TradingView? Okay, so both of those things, I actually wrote a script that is like a timer, like a bar timer. That is kind of a little of an interesting thing because you have to use I forget what I had to use. I had to use stuff that you don't normally encounter in NinjaTrader. It was this very C# specific thing. If you want to do something that like charts your position, like where you got in or something like that, that's definitely doable. You would want to use the on account up or on position update method, which is there's a lot of good code out there, but it's something that there's not as many examples for out there, but I think it's definitely something you can do. So if that's the one that you want to do, see how far you can get, and then when you get stuck, come into Discord and post in the algo channel, and when we see it, we'll try and help you answer the question. But on that note, I'm pretty sure that if you go and you search, you can find a indicator already exists that does that. Sky News or Bloomberg for Russian news? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm using Twitter and the news squawks, right? So well, I don't know if I want to throw the name Gizmo out because there's only 7 votes on this poll, but vote now. We got 4 minutes left. Feeling a little uncomfortable here. My food is hitting my intestines now, and it's making me feel very uncomfortable. But I will stick it out for the next 3 minutes here. Throw us. It'll be here. Yeah, it will send it to you. So just stay here on stream. It will send you to the new video. Oh, you know what? I should go and find the links to those and put them in the video description. Here's that one. And then the other one was... Oh, is that the only one that's there on archive? Okay, well, I can't take it. I'm gonna be right back.
US is to sell $45 billion worth of 4-week bills on February 24th to settle on March 1st.
Okay, so what did we get? Jacques didn't dig off. Cash is still doing really well. We'll take those 3. We'll add Rex onto it. Maybe put Oreo down here. Okay, guys, I will send you to the premiere now. Have a good one. Stay profitable, friends.